Well, hello everyone, this is John Miller from the Rest of Everest. This is just a pre-podcast special announcement. I kind of hinted at it last week in last week's episode, but I wanted to officially announce that I'm returning to Everest for the spring climbing season, 2007. I'm very excited. I've been a long time working on this, and I'm really pleased to be telling everyone that 4 weeks from today, I will be in Kathmandu. And it's just really exciting. I'm going to be returning, not with Ben, although I might see Ben while I'm in Kathmandu, probably on my way back. But I am going to be going out with one of my oldest friends, Scott Jacobs, and we are going to be going up into Tibet for a couple of weeks, and going to be going back to Everest Base Camp and taking care of some business there. It's going to be pretty exciting. I'll have more information in the future, but what I just wanted to kind of tell all of you right now is that all of you made it possible. I can't thank you enough, everyone who's donated to the podcast and everyone who's simply subscribed to the podcast. Less than a year after I began the show, I'm heading back to Everest, and it's all because of you guys. I'm taking the donations that have gone above and beyond the maintenance of the podcast, and I'm reinvesting them back into the podcast to provide new content for all of you. I know some of you have been very concerned that the podcast will come to an end. Well, that certainly is not the case. I have a lot more in store, and I'm really excited to keep it going. So I will be returning to Everest to meet up with a bunch of teams that have contacted me through the podcast, and I'm going to be trying to meet new people, make some connections, and try to secure some more content for the coming year. Obviously, it's a little bit awkward. We're not done with the 2003 expedition yet. There's still lots of episodes left, and we'll work our way through all of those before I start with any of the new content. But the main thing here is that it's all because of you guys that I'm going back, and I can't thank you enough. Those of you who've watched the bonus episodes from Ben's climbing trip in China, you know that he is going to be returning to Tibet to climb Shishapangma, another 8,000 meter peak in the Everest region. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating a new podcast that's going to be following my adventures and Ben's adventures in Tibet for 2007. And I will have more information on how to subscribe to that podcast. It will be separate from the regular Rest of Everest podcast. It'll be a new branch. And so I'll have some information on how all of you to get subscribed to that in the upcoming week or a couple of weeks before I leave. I'm working on a new website. It's not done yet, but I'll let all of you know when it is. And Ben and I I'm setting us up to be able to do audio dispatches. I can't do video. We're not going to have the satellite equipment, but we will have our sat phones, and I'm setting everything up to allow us to send back, journal entries, basically progress updates on how my trip is going with me and my friend Scott, and how Ben's trip is going out at Shishapangma. So there'll be lots of stuff to tide you guys over. And the other thing I want to say is that this week's episode of The Rest of Everest is going to be the last regular episode until I get back from Everest. I have so much going on. I just need the time to complete everything. So I apologize to all of you who are, used to your weekly fix of The Rest of Everest. This episode I recorded a couple of weeks ago with Rupert, but this will be the last regular episode until I get back. But there will be lots going on in between, and again, I'll put out an episode, probably an audio episode, to get all of you guys into the know on how to subscribe to the new show. So, that being the case, let's go back to the regular episode, and I'll be in touch with all of you very soon. Take care.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 41, Our Town.
Hey,
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest video podcast. I'm John Miller. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode, getting a little impression of what it's like to be a climber at Everest who's not with our team, and I was glad to be able to show that. And lucky enough for me, I'm happy to be joined again with Rupert Elderkin out in the Netherlands. How you doing, Rupert?
Great, John. Hi there.
I'm so glad to have you back on the show. This episode, we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between a few different things. I was not rolling my cameras all day long, So a few days are compressed in this episode, but we get to do a little bit of climbing, but we also get to do a little bit more cultural Tibet sightseeing almost, and experience a meal at a little Tibetan cafe at the little shanty town that was set up at base camp. So let's head back up. Actually, we're going to head back up to the to advanced base camp and climb the North Col. Here we go. Okay, so does this look familiar to you, Rupert?
This looks, this is great actually. This is the first gnarly footage I've seen on the podcast, and there's an awful lot of ice there.
That was not too far past advanced base camp, heading up the mountain. It levels out for a little bit, and then this is actually probably one of the more technical parts of climbing the North Col.
Yeah, you can see obviously the fixed ropes there running up, and there was an up and a down rope, so people were pretty good about sticking to the routes. Obviously, you have teams rushing up on one day, and you'll have other groups coming down, having done an acclimatization day or having gone up to deposit supplies further up the mountain. So on a clear, good clear day like this looks, then there'll be an awful lot of movement, particularly between advanced base camp and the North Col. But it's hard work.
If you look carefully, you can actually see the clouds in the sky. They're actually moving quite speedily. It was always kind of windy up in the North Col, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed, and that was at least for our expedition, when the bad weather came in during May. Then our highest camp that had tents actually opened up was the North Col. We had supplies as well further up the mountain, but they were just pegged down in bags by rocks, and nothing happened to them. But the tents at North Col for pretty much every expedition got flattened.
Yes, and this is all after that windstorm. And this is actually footage that was given to me by my Russian friends. In the blue there with the camouflage pants, it looks like that's Vova. And in the background there in the yellow jacket, drinking tea, that's actually one of our Sherpa. That's Okalama, probably the most powerful climber for his size in the world.
Yeah, that's probably, there are other Sherpas out there in contention, but certainly there are some amazingly strong people, far stronger than I am.
So people have been returning up to the North Col, and our team certainly did. I don't have any footage of them returning, that's why I was able to use the Russian footage there. But at this point, Ben and the team had been gone for, I want to say, a week. And so it was very important for me to try to get in touch with them and see what their plans were, because I was trying to, first of all, keep track of them for my own well-being, but I was trying also to send back email dispatches to our audience back in the United States and CNN, and so I was trying to figure out where everyone was. And good old Dawa here. This is Dawa Geltson. He's our cook, and he was helping me try to get radio communication. And
yeah, I tell them after 1 hour we are contact. We go that hill.
okay,
Then maybe not call them very easy. Yeah.
right. Who was that?
There's Lawang.
Okay.
I think the people who were most successful were again that British military team, the Royal Navy and Royal Marines, who you'd hope would be good at that sort of thing, but they actually established an aerial and some kind of repeating station, I think, at the intermediate camp. But otherwise, getting a signal up to the mountain, particularly to advanced base camp and the North Col, was very difficult. Did you guys have much luck with that?
Well, the problem with getting communication to advanced base camp in the North Col is that it's not line of sight. Changse is actually right in the way, a whole mountain. And you actually get quite good reception from teams higher up on the ridge, because it's above Changse and you can actually see them. And so you have nothing in your way. And so we moved further down base camp to try to get a more direct line of sight to the camps, and we still had a lot of trouble. But at least we look good. Look at Dawa and his hat. Dawa got that hat from the little village, the little Tibetan village that was sent up. He was very proud of that little cowboy hat.
It reminds me of a park ranger. But those little Motorola radios were surprisingly powerful. You'd think that you'd need something with, an extended aerial or cable or something. But
well, you guys had a much better radio system than we did, and you were also on the other side of base camp.
yeah,
So
that's true.
you were generous enough to let me use your radio, which we'll see in future episodes. And also the Indian, the HMI team, they had a good radio set up, and they allowed other teams to use their radio as well.
Yeah, I certainly remember when I was actually higher up the mountain myself and calling down, then it was much, much easier anywhere above, well, really, what I call Camp 2, so the camp at 7,900 meters and above, then communications was very clear. The problem then was trying to keep the radio batteries warm enough to stop the whole system shutting down.
Not always easy when it's sub-zero temperatures all the time. How did you keep your
you
batteries
only have so
warm?
many armpits to hide batteries in.
Exactly. And, that's actually one of the reasons why we don't have a lot of footage of our own up higher on the mountain, is that Ben was not able to keep the batteries warm enough. Our batteries were much larger, and they took a lot more body heat to keep warm.
Americans always doing things bigger and better.
Yeah. What we actually did here is we walked, like I said, we walked quite a ways down base camp, and there was sort of this hill that we were using as a windbreak here, and you can tell that base camp, although it's probably luxurious compared to ABC and the higher camps, was still a fairly desolate place. Almost no vegetation. And you can see that basically it's a big gravel pit. It's all of that debris from the glacier.
Well, it makes a lot more sense when we see a shot looking up from the bottom end of base camp, and you look across the moraine, and then you just see the tongue of the Rongbuk Glacier, and you understand it's just glacial debris.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a pretty wide, flat valley heading down towards the Rongbuk Monastery. But as you say, it's both high enough and arid enough that there's pretty much nothing growing there. And did you remember you got through to Ben on this call?
He's talking. Excuse me. He's talking with I'm guessing Lakpa Nuru, one of our high altitude climbers.
What are you talking about?
Let's see what he
I
says.
know, but and right now it's Lakpa in the 7.5.
Uh-huh.
In 7.5 is good contact, but not call also this radio is not really working.
Yeah.
But because there's too windy. And Lawang, Lakpa Nuru, right now is Lawang, and then they will preparing for drinking water, and Lakpa the Dawa come not call, all is come down.
Okay.
Or ABC. And tonight 6 o'clock there is good contact from Indian camp, and you and John,
Ben.
you and Ben talking 6
6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay.
I give time, and for Lakpa, then Lakpa tell the Ben, then Lakpa send a good contact from Indian camp, but Indian camp our camp is near,
Mm-hmm.
very near.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
there
up top.
Also.
Oh, so they're gonna
Yeah,
walk over
yeah.
to the
Very
Indian
near,
camp,
like one.
North Col.
Yeah, and Ben Long, all is come down, ABC.
Oh, today.
Yeah.
Oh, so they spent the
Yeah.
night last night
Yeah.
at North Col.
No, they went to just walking North Col, then come down. Maybe
Okay.
something they will do North Col, then
Well, they have a few days, don't
yeah.
they?
And Lakpa, Tawa, Boga, all is come down, ABC.
Did most of your Sherpa's team speak good English?
Dawa spoke the best English.
You will come in Indian camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly
there
a
last night.
variety
Also
of
there, like, good
abilities. I
contact
think
Indian
that
radio.
Good.
Yeah.
we ranged from a Serdar
So we
who
can go
spoke
back.
really
Yeah.
very good English, and to a couple of the guys who were working in the kitchen tent, who
Yeah.
were the smiliest, friendliest people, I think, on the whole expedition. And we probably shared about 5 common words, and it wasn't really a barrier to having at least a chat in the morning over breakfast, and you know.
That's one of the really nice things about this, is that no matter what the language barrier, everyone can smile, and a smile can speak volumes sometimes.
Yeah,
and,
I would
and a lot
say
of pointing and gesturing.
without picking on national characteristics, then Nepalis and Tibetans are incredibly cheerful people. I mean, given that they're probably not having the most fantastically comfortable time, their equipment often was far worse than the equipment that we climbers and Westerners brought along with us. It made it very difficult to be grumpy, which is one of my favourite moods to be in.
One of your favorites, absolutely. So what we're doing here is I'm just sort of pointing the camera in different directions around base camp. This is looking east, and that's looking west. That's actually looking over towards Rupert, Julian, and Stuart's camp.
And just try, because you can see the frozen lake of ice on the right, which is where our water supply was coming from.
Right.
I think yours was coming over just over here on the left now.
Just over to our left. Yep. That's our camp all the way in the distance there. The Chinese camp is just spilling over into the left of the shot. In the middle of the moraine here, that was base camp. Was you saw the one of the French teams and the Royal Navy, Royal Marines. You can see the size. That's all the same camp. That's all the Chinese camp. And in the center there, that mast, that was their cell phone tower. So that's the Nomad Expeditions camp. That's my camp. With the St. Petersburg team and what we called the Indian Army, but more specifically the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute camp. And me coughing. My cough gets worse and worse and worse. All right, so here we are at the Mount Chamalungma Cafe in the little Tibetan village at the far north end of base camp.
I'm looking extraordinarily bored by
Yes.
whatever Richard is saying there.
That is Rupert in the green there, kind of lounging back. But you guys are actually talking climbing, which is something that didn't happen a whole lot at Everest.
But you can't put all, I mean, I'm not trying to talk out.
Do your Spanish thing again.
What?
Fingers and toes.
That's quite funny.
You heard that one, yeah?
Yeah, the head of the Spanish team at the medical meeting, like we're all medical meeting, and that professor was sort of saying, "Oh, what characteristics of frostbite do you think are most worrying?" And the Spanish leader, who's not a doctor, just went, shut up, you kind of thing. It's like, the only important thing is that essentially I tell my clients that if you lose your feet, if you get frostbite in your feet, you lose your feet, no problem, because you can walk just with blocks of ice. If you lose your hands, you can't use a Juma, you can't use a figure of 8, you won't be able to get down the ropes and you'll die up there. So feet, don't worry, hands. Interesting. Pretty scary.
Yeah, feet. Oh, it's really casual. No big
Yeah,
deal.
this is a man who sticks up for feet.
But can you imagine? I mean, what an extraordinary philosophy. It's like feet frostbite, don't worry, you'll live. Hands frostbite, you'll die.
Sure.
It's quite functional.
Now, Julian, being a doctor, is allowed to use the word "die up" there.
The socks dry, it's fine.
Yes. And don't go out for a crap in your inner boots.
It was a good facility there, the Chamalungma Cafe.
Yeah.
See that they put those things up just for the season, didn't they? You can see it's all made out of bits of tarpaulin and sticks and bamboo and whatever, but they're incredibly warm and insulated, I guess, because they had the cooking stove burning the whole time. But it was a massive contrast to certainly our mess tent.
All of our food here was cooked on that cooking stove, and the fuel was actually yak dung. So it had a very, the smell in here, it wasn't offensive, it just was very sort of earthy smelling. Very.
And you're saying that while looking at a picture of me, aren't you?
yeah, I don't think that was Rupert that was providing the odor, but it probably was in part due to the climbers and the lack of bathing.
You get from Camp 2 JVC in 4 hours.
Look, how many days can the body survive at Camp 2?
Well, Jemo talks about the other two guys on this trip being at camp 2 or 3 for a week.
Yeah, it was camp 2. However, they were so weak.
They couldn't actually.
Do anything.
But they sat out a week there.
He was sitting there.
They sat a week there, but
he was sitting there supporting
him.
him. Supporting them at the camp every day, saying you go for it, and they're going, oh no, we'll wait for the weather, we'll wait for the weather, wait for the weather. And after he sat there for a week, he said, are you ever going to go? And they went, no, kind of thing now. Because I guess that is the thing. It's basically you could basically dig in at camp 2. All you need then is 36 hours of good weather.
Yeah. But also camp 2 is the windiest place on the mountain. Huh? Camp 2 is reputed to be the windiest place on the mountain.
That's most experienced. You could be caught out if like 100 mile an hour winds set in.
Well, we all heard about that.
And you're dead.
You're
not given a second chance.
It's true or not story or not.
Well, since have been born out, maybe pull it up.
I think you're alright with this, Rupert.
Same?
The walking bivvy.
Now, what I remember about this was that you guys used to go here on a very regular basis because, you'd call it second dinner. Do you remember that? You guys would have 2 dinners every night. One at your camp, which was, I'm guessing, subpar, or just not enough food.
I think
Stuart
quantity. I would hate to say anything about the quality. Again, just because our expedition was probably on a lower budget than some others, then the cooking wasn't that varied. But the cooks were doing absolutely their best with what they had available. But it was more the quantity, and being at the altitude, this gives you that appetite. As long as you're not even higher and feeling nauseous. I think we used to come down here and just eat, was it pancakes the whole time?
Pancakes without any syrup. That's what we had. But, well, it was a pleasure having you back on the show. Glad to get your insight there. It's always so nice to have other people relate the stories that they remember, because I certainly don't remember everything. And it's great to spark a few memories here and there. So I really appreciate you having you on the show, Rupert. Thank you so much.
And it's great fun. Thanks a lot for asking, John.
All right, so next episode, as you guys have probably seen, I do actually show you what our toilet was like. Very exciting. And then we spend some time over at the Royal Navy and Royal Marines camp. So thanks so much. The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every week. If you enjoy watching and would like to show your support, then take a look at my website. Aside from having lots of additional blog entries from the expedition updated every week, there's this little donation button on every page. Now, many of you have pressed that button, and your generous contributions are helping to cover my hosting fees. If you haven't donated but would like to, then just contribute any amount. In return, I'll give you access to the video and audio dispatches I sent out while we were actually at Everest. It's pretty interesting stuff. Contribute $25 or more, and I'll even throw in an iPod-compatible version of the film Everest the Other Side. That's the project the entire podcast here is based on. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywoo.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.